Okay, so I set up both graphs here with the red quantity being the social, when you think about all the benefits and all the costs associated with the production of this music, and the black is your private level of output, when you only consider the individual benefits and costs. So D says, when your roommate does not consider your external benefits in absence of external costs. So where do we have no external costs? We got to make sure we're looking at the right graph first. Which graph has no extra cost? Well, which graph only has one cost curve? Let's see here. MPC, MSC, that's 2. So this isn't it. So we're looking over here. So again, your roommate does not consider your external benefits. So he doesn't consider the social benefits. He's only worrying about himself. So that when he only worries about him or herself, the quantity of hours played is too big or too small. Well, if he considers everybody, how many does he play? The social level is 2. Or 2, where'd I get 2? The social level is 4. But the private level is 3. So if he only considers him or herself, she plays too little music. Should play 4, but they only play 3. And you could even think about the price here, if you thought about it in terms of dollars here. With a positive externality, we produce too little at too low of a price. We should produce more at a higher price. That didn't ask you that in the question, but it's good to know. When your roommate does not, this is the second part of D, when your roommate does not consider your external cost, in absence of external benefits. So we're looking at a place where we have no extra benefits. Well, that shouldn't be over here anymore because I see 2 benefits curves. There's only 1 over here. So now I'm back over here at positive externality. So he's not considering your external cost. So that means he's only, or she is only worrying about herself. The number of hours played is efficient, too high, too low. Well, here, if they worry about themselves, remember, this music really irks you. So you don't like it. So she plays 4 hours of music when you, good Lord, you would really wish she played only 3. So here we see that output is too high. And if you want to think about the price here, you produce too much output at too low of a price. You should produce less at a higher price. Interesting. Now let's talk very quickly here about how we would fix these. So how could we, just think in terms of generalities, what could we do to, in this case over here in the negative externality, encourage people to produce less, to do less of this disturbing behavior? In the real world, maybe this would be like smoking in public or in places where people have to inhale secondhand smoke, where we would want to reduce that. What could we do? Think about some of the things that have been done. Anybody? You guys probably take it for granted that you go into a restaurant and people don't smoke. But for like my entire childhood, that you went in and the first question that they asked you is smoking or non. And if you've ever been someplace where people smoke, it doesn't really matter where you sit because smoke goes everywhere. So if we wanted to, one of the things that we've done to deal with the negative externality, we've created laws and regulations that prohibit people from doing things that create negative externalities. So we could have a law that says, hey, you can't produce this music. You can only play music at certain hours of the day, which is actually pretty common in most college dormitories. If we want to talk about other things the government could do, aside from creating laws, what's one thing, what did we just get done doing and talking about? We just got done talking about taxes, right? Taxes, per unit taxes anyways, reduce the level of output. So that would work. Now let's flip it here. Over here at the positive externality, we want to encourage people to do this. So what's the opposite of a tax? We could provide subsidies. So I'm going to put a couple in here. So solutions, market-based ones. We could talk about government subsidies. We could talk about slash taxes. And of course, it's worth noting here, these are going to be per unit taxes because they'll affect output. I'll put laws and regulations. smoking bans I'll use as an example. Oh, and one that actually I was listening to Freakonomics Radio the other night, and they were talking about this one. Tradable permits. So one thing that creates a negative externality that we have too much of, and it hurts a lot of people, is pollution, right? Like, you don't want to breathe nasty air, and for the most part, I'm going to bet most of you don't get any of the benefits from a factory. Like, you don't have a job there. You may not even buy the products that they have, or that they end up selling, but you certainly get the crappy air that comes from the smoke that they blow out of their smokestacks. And one of the solutions that economists tend to really, really like is this thing called tradable permits. And so essentially what they do is they create a market to pollute. And this is crazy to some people, because essentially what it says is, hey, if you really want to pollute, guess what? We'll let you. We'll let you pollute. You just have to buy the permit. So the government sets up a market for polluting, and they create permits, and the permits allow you to pollute so much. And what it does is it encourages some businesses. Some businesses will say, okay, I could get the permit, or they are given a permit, and they'll be like, well, you know what? It wouldn't be that costly for us if we just put a couple of these measures in place and we polluted a little less on our own, and then we could sell our permit. We could say it would cost us $100 to reduce our pollution and not need the permit, and we could sell the permit for $500. So we'll spend $100, we'll sell the permit for $5, and we'll end up $400 ahead. And so the other firms that say, you know what, it's more advantageous for us to buy the permits from people than to try to pollute less, they'll buy the permits. Some environmentalists think this is horrible, because this is like saying, hey, it is okay to pollute. And to an environmentalist, they would say there's no level of pollution that would be acceptable. And while that's a nice way to think of it, it's like saying, hey, we're not going to have any risk in the world. We're not going to do anything that might be detrimental. Well, we all take risk every day. We can't eliminate our health risk entirely. You have to get in a car, you ride a bus to work, you cross the street. These are risks that you have to incur. So in some sense, there is an efficient amount of pollution that we can live with and that we can be okay with. And so I got a little long-winded there, but tradable permits is a popular economist solution here. Now, there's some other solutions here. Things that keep people from smoking. Like, sometimes it's just kind of a matter of morals, right? Some places you aren't going to smoke inside. Like, I would probably guess like church, right? You wouldn't smoke at church. Not because there's necessarily a specific rule that says you can't smoke at church, but like, you'd kind of feel messed up if you did, right? Or maybe if you were at like a little kid's birthday party, right? You might not smoke. Not because there's a rule against it or anybody's telling you that you can't, but just that you think maybe I shouldn't smoke around little kids, it's not a great habit, blah, blah, blah. Which kind of like gets to like social pressures. And so sometimes these things create an atmosphere where people don't do things that are harmful, but on the flip side, they could also encourage them to do things that are positive. For example, like maybe like vaccinating your kids. Like you guys don't have kids, but I have a kid, and maybe there's a certain pressure from the parents in of my children's friends. You know, what would they think of me if I didn't get my kid vaccinated? And so that encourages me to do something healthy, which is to go out and get my kids vaccinated. And vaccines have a positive externality to them because they protect lots and lots of people besides just my children. Other things that kind of create positive externalities might be like charities, sometimes like contracts. You know, you work out an agreement with your neighbor that, hey man, you know, I really need you to reduce that chainsaw operating that you're doing because it's really messing with my sleep or whatever. You can only mow your lawn at certain times. Which kind of brings me to my last one. This is the Coase theorem. And Coase was kind of an interesting fellow. basically said that people can handle externality problems on their own. So if you got an issue with your neighbor, go sort it out, is what Coach said. And like, I guess like the classic example is your neighbor has a very loud dog, and this dog is so annoying to you, and you just want to, like, you really want to kill the dog is what you want to do, but you can't kill the dog. So you have to figure out, according to Coach, what you would do is you'd say, okay, my sleep is worth $100, okay? And so you'd go over to your neighbor's house and you say, look, man, I will pay you $100 to make your dog go inside, or $100 to kill your dog, whatever, something to shut the dog up and get your sleep. And if your neighbor says, well, you know what, man, like, it's better for me, it's worthwhile for me to have him outside, and I love him so much that, you know, I couldn't kill him or bring him inside for anything less than 150. And you would say, at that point, you would have to say, okay, well, I would get a $100 benefit, and the cost is $150 to get this dog to shut up. I'll just have to handle the dog being loud. And that would, to Coach and to economists, that's like, the benefits are not big enough for you to do this. So Coach said you'd handle your business on your own, is his theory. I think we can all agree that there may be some real difficulties in handling big issues with externalities on your own. Like, how could one person legislate where another citizen smokes, or how late they stay up, or whatever? Like, that would be very, very difficult for the most part. The idea of going and knocking on your neighbor's door is not one that most of us relish. So this is like a very minor thing, but if you have heard it, then we're in good shape. Here's what I'd like you to do. I would like you, oh, hang on. All right, I would like you to look at the next, I think, 5 slides on your slide packet. And there are 5 multiple choice questions. I want you to try each one of those right now. I'm not going to go over them right away with you, but I do want you to think about them because we're going to get you to do more of the graphing on your own in the next video. So go try those 5 first before we start drawing, and it'll be a good judge of kind of like how well you're understanding. If you like read through and you go, I had no idea, then you really got to pay close attention in the next couple of videos. If you're like, Mr. Sutton, man, this is like super easy, then you may be able to fast forward to the next video or two. Okay? Do that now.